Okay, so this morning at 3 a.m. I went to bed like at 10:45 and then got up at like, I think I got up at 1:30 and then at 3 a.m. Well, when I laid back down at 3 a.m. I was having a hard time going back to sleep. So then I was talking to the aliens, and it wasn't Joel that gave me this experience, unless he switched it up a little bit, but it was a different being that gave me this experience, a different reptilian, because it was too different. Unless they like to switch it up, you know, but I don't think it was Joel that gave me this experience. It was a different reptilian. And then a few days ago, now this was an out-of-body experience, abduction, complete virtual reality. I felt like I was in 3D. But the one that was similar that I had, there was two similar things in it. Two similar things with this abduction, and then a few days ago with the lucid dream, a virtual reality type of lucid dream. And that had two similar things in it. So I do believe it was the same reptilian. I don't believe it was Joel though, but it could have been. He maybe just switched things up a little bit. I don't know, it just didn't seem quite like his style. But it was definitely the same one, whoever this reptilian is. It's the same one that gave me this one, or this was actual out-of-body abduction, virtual reality experience. The experience I had a few days ago that was kind of similar was more of a lucid dream, but still virtual reality, but under like the lucid dream state. But you know the difference after you have had so many experiences in the altered state or whatever, then it becomes real easy to know the differences. But yeah, so I wasn't really expecting an experience, even though I was talking to them and everything. Okay, so yeah, so next thing I know, this experience, like, he didn't make me like astral travel or anything. You know, I was laying there and I started to get kind of, you know, spinning, like your brain kind of starts spinning and you can kind of feel them suck you out or whatever. And but that part I really don't remember so much, actually. Sort of. I do remember when I laid back down and I laid there forever and started talking and stuff to them. Then yeah, I do remember a little bit, like getting kind of dizzy and stuff. And then the next thing I know, I was totally in a virtual reality setting, just like no different than 3D. You know, and actually this whole experience, I didn't know that I didn't know 100% for sure if I was under an altered state till after I woke up in my bed. So anyway, so this is how it went down. Okay, so this was like so funny. And like I say, it could have been Joel though. But so this it started out where I was not in my house. Like, it just seemed like a different house, a different living room. Yeah, I don't know where he placed me, but it was like a different house, a different living room at that time. And I kept feeling him, I kept touching him. Like I touched his face, I touched his body, and I touched his hands. And I do not remember feeling any claws or anything on his hands. But I touched his body, I touched his face, and then when he showed himself to me, he didn't have a face. It was just like that. It was like, well, anyway, okay, so it went down like this. Okay, like I say, all of this, was completely like virtual reality. But at first he stuck me in like a strange living room. And I don't remember seeing anything like dressers or anything like that around. But, so it's like, well, this is kind of embarrassing, but it was like, see, I know this is funny, and some people may not believe me, but I'm not lying. Because they do anything, like, sexually to you, you know what I mean? It's so hilarious. Okay, but actually, the funny thing is, Well, see, most people, I don't know, I've never really heard of anybody that really tells you details, you know, about sex and stuff with these beings. Like, nobody really tells you details, you know what I mean? And a lot of details, all, like, edited out or whatever. But most of the details, I mean, I don't. But, so anyway, he put me in a strange, like, living room. But like I say, I was not in my house at that time. I was in a strange living room in some other house or whatever. And, so this being, he was posing as this pasty, gray, rubbery clay figure with no face. And his whole body was like that. It felt like just like silly putty or something. And, so anyway, it's so it's kind of like, I wasn't laying on the floor on my stomach, but anyway, so somehow he like, I don't know, I guess maybe I was on my knees or something and just kind of sitting there on my knees, but I don't necessarily remember being on my knees. But anyway, so this is really weird. So anyway, he was like getting up under me and like licking me out. I'm not lying about any of this. But so the whole time he was doing that, I was like reaching my hand back there and feeling him and shit. And I felt his face, I felt his arm, I felt his hand, and I felt his body. And like I say, it was just like clay or silly putty or something like that. And it just looked like that color. And he did show me his face, and it looked just like this, like a faceless reptilian. And but he was like eating me out. And yeah, I mean, I remember it felt real good and everything because it was virtual reality and everything. But sometimes they get you off and sometimes they don't get you off. I guess they control all of that. But so it started out like that. So it started out kind of good or whatever. Then the next thing I know, okay, let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything. The next thing I know, he places me, you know, in another virtual reality setting where I am in the exact replica of my house. And I'm standing there like in the kitchen, or near the kitchen and near the dining room. The kitchen and the dining room, I'm standing like right there. And it's like all these people were coming in my house, taking my shit. It's like as if I was being, now he didn't actually program me to think that, or maybe he did, but it was like as if I was being foreclosed on or something. And these strange men, it's like they worked for the city or something. And they came in and they were just like rummaging through my house and taking my shit out of my house. And, you know, so, and also they were kind of making stuff in disarray too. You know, everything was kind of sloppy, falling over and stuff. Okay, so then, the next thing I know, after I'm standing there in the kitchen and these men, oh, and by the way, I kept saying, this can't be real, this can't be real. I know this has got to be like a virtual reality experience. I know I got to be under an altered state or something. I kept saying that to myself. I know it can't be real. I know it can't be real. Like, I know I'm in an altered state, but I didn't know it. I didn't know it. And I also, at that point, after I kept telling myself that, I did several times, like, go out of the back door to try to pop me out of the experience. Because, like, you know, it's like I did not know 100% for sure if it was really real. Because normally I'll become conscious, you know, or I'm totally conscious at the get-go that I know I'm under an abduction. But now, actually, when he was doing the oral sex on me, like, I knew that at that point, I knew I was under the abduction. I knew I was feeling a reptilian. So that part was, I mean, it was still virtual reality, but I knew I was under the abduction, and I knew that person that I was feeling, I mean, I knew he was a reptilian. I knew that. Even though he was posing, I knew it was a reptilian posing as a pasty, rubbery, clay, live person or whatever, faceless person. And like I knew that. It was when he popped me into the other virtual reality experience in my house, I did not know. I kept thinking I really was in 3D. And that's why I kept telling myself, I know this can't be real. Is it, you know, this can't be. But I didn't really know if it was real or not at that time. During the whole experience, I did not know that, or during that second virtual reality experience, you know, when he places me an exact duplicate of my house, that whole scenario, I did not know that I was not dreaming, so to speak. But it wasn't a dream, it was a virtual reality experience. But, because most of the time I will, you know, I'm always conscious that I am under the abduction the whole time. But they probably can control that, and he probably confused me on purpose, because he just programmed it like that or whatever. So anyway, so when he pops me in the kitchen and all these men, like, I don't know, there was like a lot of them, like 7 or 8, and like taking my shit out of my house. And like I say, there was a lot of stuff that was, you know, it was cluttery and things were like thrown over and stuff. Okay, and then like I say, I kept thinking, is this really real? Am I really still in 3D and blah, 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 blah. So I kept questioning it, even though I didn't really know for sure. And like I say, there was like 3 or 4 times I kept running out the back door. And, you know, and it was like exact duplicate, like I would see my yard and everything. It was exact replica when I would open the door, because I kept trying to like pop me out of the experience if I really was, you know, under an altered state or whatever. And but that didn't work. You know what I mean? It didn't work. Like I was still under the abduction. It didn't work. Me trying to pop myself out of it, whether I was or at that time I didn't know if I really was or not. Or, you know, through this whole experience, the second experience. Yeah, so I kept running out the back door, opening the door to, you know, to see, you know, to try to jump back into my normal reality. Because like I said, I wasn't sure during this whole second experience. So anyway, so I did that about 3 times throughout the second virtual reality experience. Okay, so after he places me in the living room, then I go into the garage. For whatever reason, I walk into the garage, and there's, you know, 6, 7 men, and they're like taking shit out of my garage. And I was just kind of like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And they were like telling me, oh, something about, but anyway, it seemed like they were city employees or something, like city workers or something like that. And, but they just kind of acted like, okay, this stuff is ours now. Like, I don't know, it's just almost like I was being foreclosed on or something. Yeah, so it's like, they were like telling me, okay, this is ours, and this is ours, and they were taking shit out of my house. And then, this is kind of funny, but they go over to my wall, and they were like, the garage wall, where it has a circuit breaker, and they were like, I don't know, they were using some kind of saw or something to totally like rip it out of the wall. And I think they said something about, I mean, the reason why they were like, yeah, they said, yeah, and this is ours too. So when they took the circuit breaker, then it's like, I was thinking, okay, they're taking my circuit breaker because it has copper in it or something and it's valuable or something like that. That's what I was thinking. Okay, so anyway, and the whole time I was in the garage, I was like, this can't be real. This can't be real. You know, I wonder if I'm under an altered state. I wonder if I'm under an altered state. I kept saying that to myself. And like I say, about 3 times, I kept running out the back door to try to, you know, pop me out of the experience if I was in an experience, which I was. Okay, so anyway, so after that, so then, I go out of the garage, you know, I walk out of the garage, and I'm trying to think, was it like daytime or nighttime? Shit. Okay, was it daytime or nighttime? Well, it was daytime when I was running out the back door and stuff, and opening it to try to get myself back into the other reality or whatever, you know, the normal 3D reality. That was daytime. But, as far as when I walked out of the garage and onto the front porch, I can't remember if it was nighttime or daytime. But anyway, I walked, after the men kept taking shit out of my garage. Well, like I say, at first they were taking the shit out of my house. anything they wanted. Then in the garage, they were taking, you know, my stuff out of my garage. Oh, yeah. And they also took my car. I looked around the garage. My car was gone. They took my car. And, yeah, I'm glad I remembered that. So they took my car, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some small little details. Because, see, the reason why I probably forgot a lot of details of this experience, like I said, I just remembered about the car right then and there, but I'm sure I forgot about some other little details that they, like, you know, took out of my house or whatever. But, because I've been distracted because my turtle died. But, yeah, so, yeah, and so, like I say, there was like 7 men in my garage, and I was looking around, and my freaking car was gone. So they stole my car, plus all my, you know, plus a bunch of crap in my garage and the house, the living room. Okay, well, here's the part that really sucks. And I'll probably have time to talk about that other thing, too. Okay, so now this time, after I walked out of the garage, and like I said, I can't remember if it was daytime or nighttime at that point, but I walked out of the garage, and then I saw my neighbors across the street. It was like 2 or 3 neighbors, and maybe another couple neighbors, but it was definitely the Earl, 2 or 3 neighbors across the street, and maybe a couple other neighbors, but I can't remember who they were exactly, but it was like 4 or 5 neighbors that came barging through the front door and the hallway, and they were throwing gasoline all over. They were pouring gasoline all over my hallway, just that area. I didn't see them come actually all the way into my house. They just came like halfway down the hallway, and they were throwing gas everywhere. They were pouring gasoline, and the thing that they were holding was metal, but it looked just like this. It was very tall gas dilly bobber. And so anyway, the reason why the alien put that in there was because of yesterday. I dropped this thermometer that came to my fish tank. I kept putting it in my my turtle tank, and the fucking thing, it kept falling. And I guess the suction was meant to be in water, but I don't know why it wasn't like it wasn't smooth. I mean, it should have stuck fine to the turtle tank. I was just going to make sure to see what the temperature was in her tank. But I forgot there was already a temperature thing in there. I may throw that fucker away because here's the deal. I didn't know, you know, they used to put mercury. Oh, I guarantee you, mercury isn't as toxic as this fucking shit they're using. But anyway, so, the reason why the alien put that gasoline bullshit, in my experience, was because the thermometer, it dropped a couple times in the tank, in my turtle tank, my turtle habitat. The 3rd time it dropped, it broke. The bottom broke, and that fucking liquid spewed out, and it gave off some toxic motherfucker. It's a wonder I'm fucking alive. It gave off this toxic fucking fumes, gas fumes. This was gasoline fumes. But thank God, I hurried up and grabbed my turtle, took her out of the tank, and then I grabbed all the shit that spewed out of it, which spilled out onto the mulch. I mean the paper wads that I have in there for her habitat. It just fell on there, you know, a little bit of the red. It spewed out just in a small little area. So I hurried up and grabbed all that with my hands and put it in the trash bag. But the thing is, like I said, it gave off, you know, a gas. It gave off fumes. It gave off a total gas. And smell. So anyway, so that's why I hurried up and took my tank. I rolled my tank. Not rolled because it doesn't have wheels, but I pushed my tank, and it was kind of heavy, you know, because it's like 40 gallons. So the tank is sitting outside right now because luckily the fumes, it just stayed enclosed inside the tank. It fell inside the tank, and the liquid, the red liquid stuff, it I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's freaking gasoline. That's what it is. And so it you know, I hurried up and grabbed all of that and stuck it in a plastic bag. But like I say, it gave off a gas, a toxic gas, but luckily it didn't permeate the bedroom. It only permeated the tank. And right now the tank has been sitting outside for like a day now. But I'm thinking it's gonna be fine. Everything that's in there, I'm gonna wash real good and everything. I'm thinking it's going to be fine now. Like I say, it was just a gas that permeated all in the tank. And when I went to smell my turtle, she even had the fumes on top of her. So I hurried up and I scrubbed her with some vinegar and some non-toxic dish soap. And today, and that worked. I scrubbed her a couple times underneath and on top of her shell. And today, and I noticed that got rid of most of the smell. And then today I smelled her and she doesn't have any kind of smell on her whatsoever. But the tank, I'm thinking, I almost was going to roll the tank out to the front yard and get rid of it on Craigslist and just go buy another one. But I think it should be fine. You know what I'm saying? I think it's not like it was a bunch of, it's not like it was like half a gallon of gas that was poured in there. Don't ever buy those motherfuckers. Or if you ever buy something that comes with a thermometer like that fucking fish tank with that red shit, I mean, it's got to be something toxic if it's sitting there trying to tell the temperature going up and down. I mean, you can't just put water in there. It's not going to be able to tell the temperature. It's got to be something toxic, you know. But I didn't know that until it fucking broke. And I actually had this other one that I bought at Dollar Tree up in the kitchen. And I threw that motherfucker away too. That bitch is gone. And that had just a tiny minute little bit of red stuff. You know, but this stuff in the thermometer, there was quite a bit more in it, you know, down at the bottom, you know. And that came with my fish tank. If that would have spilled in my fish tank, it would have totally, I mean, if it would have broken my fish tank, that would have killed all the fish. But I already killed them anyway. Because I didn't know what I was doing, but I know what I'm doing now. But yeah, so, I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I had no idea. If you broke something like that, it was going to have toxic gas in it. I didn't know that. But yeah, so, and I'm sure there's toxic stuff like in my refrigerator or in the dishwasher or whatever. But hopefully, you know, no components will like freaking break or whatever. But yeah, I try to get all toxic shit out of my house. And I will never ever buy a thermometer like those motherfuckers ever again. So just beware. Don't ever buy those. Any kind of thermometer with that red liquid. Well, also don't buy the ones with mercury either, but I don't even think they make them anymore. But I guarantee you, I've spilled mercury many a times and I played with it with my fingers. And, you know, because it turns up into little bolly balls. I've dropped the thermometer twice. One time in 2010, 11, back in like, when I was like 8 years old. When I was, and there was another time too, but damn, that's not even toxic. Not like this motherfucking gas. So anyway, so I did get sick for a little while, but I'm better now. I was better towards, you know, the evening of yesterday, but yeah, it did make me sick. I'm probably going to go ahead and buy a gas mask and have a gas mask on hand. So I'll just immediately put a gas mask on or whatever, because those little cheap pieces of shit that you buy, those aren't good enough, you know. Those are not good enough. The cheap pieces of shit that just barely fit over, you know, that are really loose, that shit don't work, man. The ones that I keep in my car in case I ever smell gasoline, which is a lot, you know, from people's nasty-ass cars and crap. And also from whatever the aliens are creating. Sometimes they're creating artificial smells as well. But most of the time, it's true smells coming from, you know, people's cars or whatever. But yeah, just buyer beware, man. Do not buy those things, because if you break it, yeah, it's going to be some kind of toxic mess. But anyway, so there's no kind of smell or anything in my bedroom or whatever, because like I say, it just permeated the, you know, it's not like there was enough of it to like try to permeate my whole bedroom and to permeate my whole house. There wasn't enough of it, because it's just a tiny minute amount of that red shit and that thermometer, you know, that came with the fish tank. And so it just permeated the tank only. And like I say, that bitch has been sitting out there for over a day now. And I'm going to have to go out there and clean it up, but I'm pretty sure the smell is probably off of it. And there's some, I feel bad I had to kill some of the mealworms, you know, and the beetle, the big beetle that I had, that those big old beetles, they could live like 6 months or longer. And the big beetle, I noticed it even had the smell on that big beetle. And, you know, well, actually, I was going to try to put it back in my little worm breeding thing, but it was smelling like that gas too. So I went ahead and took the beetle outside and put it in the grass. I mean, I don't know if those beetles are supposed to be outside or what, but hopefully the little thing will live. Maybe it'll just go into the ground and live. But yeah, the poor little, I don't know what was wrong with that beetle, but it had like, you know, it wasn't all black. It had like a big white part on it. I don't know if it, I don't know, but it was still healthy. Like I say, sometimes those big old beetles, when they hatch out from those pupates, if they hatch out like a real big one, they can live 6 months or longer. I've had one to live like 6 months or longer. And, but anyway, poor little thing, I hope it lived. But I didn't want anything that smelled of those fumes, you know, in my house. So yeah, so don't ever buy or try if you buy something that comes with those thermometers. And go to Walmart and you'll know what I'm talking about. Look at some of the thermometers and you'll see that red, there's like red liquid down at the bottom, and that's what tells the temperature. Well, I mean, like I say, if you think about it, how, you know, it's probably got to be something toxic, you know what I mean, to tell the temperature. But the 40-gallon tank came with a little stick-on humidity gauge and temperature gauge, but yeah, I don't know what the hell is in that either. I may just go ahead and take that off the tank and throw that away, because there's other, I mean, I can tell the temperature in there, you know, I'll be able to tell anyway. Or, you know, they make digital ones too. I may buy one of those. But yeah, don't buy those damn things, man, because those things are toxic, toxic, toxic. Well, only if you break it, which it broke because it kept falling. Well, thanks for listening about my reptilian abduction and where he gave me oral sex. And like I say, he did the exact same thing in the virtual reality lucid dream a few days ago, but I haven't talked about that experience yet. I haven't talked about that one yet, but I will. And there's another experience I want to talk about too. So thanks for listening.